Imagine discovering that your constant anxiety, that lingering sense of emptiness, or even health issues you face, might have roots far deeper than you ever imagined. Have you ever wondered why some people carry an unexplainable emotional weight? Why certain families seem trapped in the same cycles of suffering, generation after generation? The answer may lie hidden in what science now calls trauma epigenetics, a fascinating phenomenon revealing how the painful experiences of our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents can literally alter our genes and shape the way we live today. It's as if our bodies are ancient libraries, not only storing our own stories, but also preserving the unresolved memories of those who came before us. Dr. Gabor Maté, a renowned physician and researcher, has been a pioneer in uncovering these silent truths. His findings suggest we are not only shaped by what we live through, but also by what our ancestors couldn't process. The most remarkable part, just as we inherit trauma, we also have the power to break it. When we begin to understand these invisible threads, we open the door to deep healing. We can finally free ourselves from behaviors that were never truly ours. And by doing so, we don't just transform our own lives. We change the legacy for future generations. This groundbreaking discovery invites us to see our pain with new eyes, not as a personal failure, but as an inheritance we can choose to rewrite. Let's imagine a scene that might feel familiar. A seemingly ordinary family, working parents, a tidy home, food on the table. But in the air, something lingers, a silent tension no one dares name. The parents don't scream. They don't hit. But they whisper constant worries. They avoid emotions. They live in quiet, chronic anxiety. They transmit fear through glances and silences. The internal danger radar never turns off. Now imagine a child growing up in this invisible storm. Their sensitive mind, like a sponge, absorbs everything. The mother's anxious sighs, the tension in the father's clenched jaw, the heavy silence during dinner, the unspoken dread that hangs in the room. The result? A child with a hyperactive danger radar, constantly scanning the world for threats, even when no threat exists. When the body learns to survive instead of live, it's as if the child's nervous system has been programmed with a faulty setting, one that stays in constant alert, always watching, always protecting. Here's the most striking part. These parents didn't choose to be this way. They, too, were programmed by their parents, who were programmed by theirs, and so on. It's like an emotional virus passed down through generations, silently infecting each one, without anyone realizing they carry it. Inherited emotional memory isn't just a poetic phrase. It's a biological reality. Genes mutate under traumatic experiences. Stress hormones alter our DNA. Neural patterns are biologically passed down. Survival responses become automatic, engraved into our biology. If you feel anxious for no reason, struggle to fully relax, constantly expect something bad to happen, overreact to normal situations, feel the need to control everything just to feel safe, you might be carrying emotional inheritances that were never truly yours. But here's the good news. You can break free. When you recognize these patterns and understand their origin, you gain the power to rewrite the code. You could be the first in your bloodline to say, "This cycle ends with me." Imagine transforming that hypervigilant nervous system into one that can finally breathe deeply, trust life, feel true safety, and live in peace. Dr. Gabor Maté made a discovery that changed how we understand trauma forever. Trauma doesn't live in the event itself. It lives in how our body and mind respond to it. Now imagine two people going through the exact same painful experience. Person A has a solid support network, knows how to express emotions, and has internal coping tools. Outcome: processes the event and moves forward. Person B is emotionally vulnerable, has no one to talk to, carries unresolved traumas from the past. Outcome: the event becomes deeply traumatic. It's not about what happened, but how you were prepared to face it. This changes everything about how we see the past. Maybe our parents didn't have the tools they needed. Our grandparents carried their own unhealed wounds. And we are the products of a long chain of unprocessed experiences. It's like realizing that the whole family was trying to navigate in the dark. Without a map, Dr. Gabor Maté shows us that there's an invisible thread connecting. Every tear your great-grandmother swallowed, every fear your grandfather never dared to speak, every rage your parents held tightly in their chest, and every emotion you repress today, that thread is called epigenetics, and it carries far more than we can imagine. When you choose to heal your trauma, you're not just helping yourself, you're healing your family's past, you're protecting your children's future, you're rewriting the story of your bloodline. It's like becoming the hero of your own ancestral saga. The body never forgets the truth that sets you free. This powerful phrase from Maté reveals a striking scientific reality. Your body is a biological hard drive storing trauma as muscular tension, fear as altered immune responses, sadness as chronic inflammation, anger as persistent physical pain. Epigenetics shows that your body might be expressing dramas that were never yours, and many physical symptoms may actually be emotional inheritances. But here's the most incredible part. Once you understand this, you can decide which patterns to break. You can transform pain into wisdom. You can create a new legacy. You can change the course of future generations. Now you know, the only question left is, are you ready to become the healer of your lineage? This isn't just a poetic theory. It's a real opportunity for transformation, one that can change not only your life, but the destiny of every generation that follows. Maté leaves us with a revolutionary invitation. Stop judging. Start listening. Because when we truly listen, without judgment, without rushing to give advice, we begin to see that difficult person might be carrying ancestral pain, that your own strange behavior might have deeper roots, and that the silence imposed for generations can finally be broken. Maté discovered that the greatest minefield for trauma is not what you think. It's not war. It's not physical abuse. It's not extreme poverty. It's the perfect home where invisible wounds are born. Picture a family that, from the outside, looks ideal. A beautiful house, hardworking parents, well-dressed children, no physical violence, no constant yelling. But on the inside, the basic emotional nutrients are missing. Genuine affection is replaced with gifts. Deep listening is replaced with distractions. Emotional validation is replaced with "don't be dramatic." Emotional safety is replaced with conditional love. In the first years of life, a child's brain is like soft clay, a fertile ground still forming. The limbic system, emotions, the prefrontal cortex, decision-making, and the neural connections are all under construction. So what does a child learn in an emotionally neglectful home? The world is not safe. My emotions don't matter. I must stay quiet to be loved. I have to be perfect to be accepted. When the brain is programmed incorrectly, it's as if a faulty software is installed, and that code keeps running into adulthood. A study of mothers who had suffered abuse revealed something disturbing. Their children were born with genetic alterations related to emotional regulation and stress response. This tells us something profound. Trauma can be inherited before birth. For Gabor Maté, the womb is the first social environment of a child. And if that environment is filled with anxiety, fear, and rejection, it shapes life before the first cry. That's why he calls for a revolution in how we see parenting. It's not enough to provide food and shelter. Children need emotional presence, effective connection, and real listening. When a baby cries and no one responds, their body interprets that as abandonment, and that abandonment becomes trauma, even without a single act of physical violence. The effects of emotional abandonment are deep, often irreversible if not consciously worked through. Maté emphasizes that many parents are also victims of this same pattern. They don't know how to love in a healthier way because they themselves were never truly loved, so they unknowingly repeat what they lived. Breaking the cycle requires more than goodwill. It demands awareness, therapy, effort, and above all, compassion. Blaming our parents isn't the path, but understanding their limitations helps us forgive, and more importantly, sets us free from the invisible chains we carry. Childhood, which should be the cradle of emotional safety, often becomes the start of an inner exile, one that pushes millions toward mental illness, addictions, toxic relationships, and self-sabotage. And as long as that root remains untouched, we'll keep treating only the symptoms, while the true source of suffering remains buried. Gabor Maté challenges us to dive into our inner world with bravery and gentleness, to finally embrace and heal the wounded child still living within us. One of his greatest insights is to flip the classic question. Instead of "Why are you addicted?" ask "Why are you in pain?" That one shift changes everything. Addiction stops being a moral or character failure and becomes what it truly is: an improvised medicine to soothe deep emotional pain, almost always rooted in ancient, unhealed trauma. For Maté, every addiction is a strategy to cope with inner suffering, whether through alcohol, drugs, food, sex, social media, or overwork. And the cruel irony? The more we bury our pain, the louder it screams, forcing us to seek stronger and stronger escape valves. The addiction cycle isn't just about chemistry. It has deep emotional and biological roots. Epigenetics shows how trauma shapes the brain, influencing everything from impulse control to the endless chase for pleasure and dopamine. Children of addicts don't just inherit genes. They absorb the chaos of a dysregulated emotional environment, a perfect storm for addiction to take root. Maté spent years working with people on the streets, trapped in cycles of heroin and heavy drugs. What he found wasn't failures, but deeply wounded adults, scarred by childhoods filled with abandonment, physical and sexual abuse. For many of them, addiction was the only anesthesia against unbearable pain. But when that pain was validated and held, a new path emerged, the path to healing. This transformation only begins when pain is allowed to be seen, heard, and held. But addiction isn't just in the streets. It hides in middle-class homes, in corporate offices, in the lives of devoted mothers, and promising young people. So many live in silent dependence, on likes, pornography, overwork, fleeing from a persistent emptiness. Maté explains it clearly. This void reflects a childhood without true emotional connection. And without connection, the human being falls ill. It becomes even more dangerous when society normalizes these addictions. We celebrate the workaholic. We romanticize compulsive consumption. We ridicule emotional suffering. Our entire culture learns to mask trauma behind productivity, pushing pain under the rug until it explodes in anxiety, burnout, depression, or mysterious physical illnesses. For Maté, the solution isn't just abstinence. It's reconnection with who we are, with what was ignored in our history, with our body, and above all, with our pain. This path demands courage to feel, to remember, to cry, to confront, but also demands support. No one makes this journey alone. The empathetic presence of someone who listens without judgment can be the first step toward emotional freedom. By shedding light on the link between trauma and addiction, Gabor Maté offers more than just theory. He offers hope. He shows us that, even after years of suffering, we can reframe our path. What we inherited does not have to become our destiny. Our wounds, no matter how old, can become powerful sources of healing, connection, and renewed strength. As we walk this path, we begin to see a powerful truth. Most of us are trying to build a fulfilling life while carrying scars we never chose. Inherited, silenced, and internalized traumas that, until they are welcomed into awareness, continue to shape our dreams, our choices, and our deepest sense of identity. But as Maté reveals, there is an antidote that breaks this cycle: compassionate awareness. The beginning of healing, especially intergenerational trauma, happens when we stop blaming and start truly seeing ourselves with honesty and kindness. This demands a sincere dive into our personal stories, recognizing that many behaviors we now feel ashamed of or that push others away did not come from nowhere. They were strategies, however flawed, to survive emotionally, whether we like it or not. Every attempt to protect ourselves reveals the strength that kept us alive until now. But no one heals alone. Mate insists trauma is born in relationship and only heals in relationship. Healing requires safe environments, where expressing pain is seen as a sign of courage, not weakness. Where speaking is not met with correction or advice, but with presence. And this kind of listening, attentive, unhurried, without filters, is one of the most powerful emotional tools we have. And it's within everyone's reach. We must also break the myth of perfect healing. Overcoming trauma is not a straight line. It's not a race with a finish line. It's a constant learning process, like discovering a new language, full of relapses, daily practice, and above all, conscious choices, not to repeat what once harmed us. Perhaps the greatest personal revolution is this: to refuse to unconsciously pass on old patterns, even if it hurts, even if it distances us from those still stuck in the old script. And here, epigenetics offers hope. Every genuine change, no matter how small, echoes through future generations. The simple act of caring for yourself, listening inward, offering yourself compassion, it reshapes how your children, grandchildren, friends, and everyone around you relate to their own pain. You become the turning point, a full stop in a lineage of suffering, planting new seeds of presence, love, and freedom. Mate's core message is simple yet profound. No pain is meaningless. Every symptom holds a story. Every struggle is a call for attention. Every self-destructive pattern is a silent cry for love that was never spoken. When we meet these cries with compassion, we transform weight into wisdom, shame into empathy, and suffering into power, a true emotional alchemy. And here lies the real moral of this journey. You are not your trauma. You are the one who survived it. And yes, you can write a new story, one the world has never seen. Your journey becomes strength. Your scars become signs of victory, not defeat. And your pain becomes the soil for a life more light, free, and authentic. This video is not just scientific information or philosophical reflection. It is, above all, an invitation to awareness, to renewal, and to emotional responsibility. Because as long as we keep turning our backs on our wounds, we'll continue to reproduce a society that is disconnected, anxious, and addicted. But if we choose to face our pain and heal it, then the transformation of the world begins inside each of us. Did this message resonate with you? Then subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell to receive our next invitations to change.